Good morning, everyone. Glad to see
Hey.
you all your shiny faces. And it's first meeting in August. So we're going to start with my favorite motivational speaker. That's Tony Robbins. And I want to just review. We've heard this before, but it bears repeating because our job is like a marathon, not a sprint, and we need to keep at it and at it. His ultimate success formula. Anybody could tell me what the ultimate success formula is? Okay. So, number one, know your outcome. If you don't know where you're going, you can't get there. So we do business plan and goals every quarter, and it is very important that they be as specific as possible. Probably more important than your goal is your reason why. Why are you doing this? What do you expect to get out of it? Why do you need to do it? If you don't have a burning desire to get to your goal, you're probably not going to get there. So concentrate on the why, whether it's your family or some personal goal or some fantastic vacation or some special car, whatever it is. We need short-term and long-term goals, short-term and long-term whys. And hopefully part of the why is outside yourself. I mean, for most of us, family is probably the number one why. But going beyond that, and the people who do really well in real estate are the people who are in it to help others. And so hopefully that's part of your why. If you know where you're going and you know why you're going, then you need to take massive action. I like the word massive because it's not just take action. That's not enough. Take massive action. When you think you've done enough, then do more. And your business plan should be full of action steps. You should be counting yourself every week to make sure that you're making those action steps part of your daily life. And then you can move on and see what are the results you're getting. You know, the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result. One of the things that's surprising to me as a manager is that a lot of agents just don't get this. They don't get the fact that you can't be happy with where you are because you're like a shark. You're either going to go forward or back. And that means you keep getting better or you start falling back. So it is very important to check to make sure you're getting the results you need. And if you're not getting the results, and most of us are not getting exactly the results we need anytime, we keep changing tactics until we get the results we expect. And if we expect those results, we will get them. So there's plenty of Tony Robbins all over the internet and YouTube, TonyRobbins.com. I recommend that you take a look and get yourself revved up. Okay, on a sad personal note, Mark Schreier is not at the meeting today. His mother-in-law passed away yesterday. So she was sick, but it was kind of sudden. She was doing better, and he got a call yesterday, and he let me know. So just give Mark and his wife your condolences, and I expect to see him around next week. Okay, recent inventory. Again, not a good news. 3 pieces of inventory and then 1 rental, which is already gone. So I won't ask Eric to ask me about it. It was an $1,800 rental, 2 bedrooms in Maspeth, and they're signing the lease today. So quick and painless. Okay, Dan, I think we talked about 779 Prospect last time because it was just being listed that morning. You have an update on it, still available? You're on mute.
Yes, I am. Sorry about that, folks. It is still available. I've had some traffic. I had an open house. I had about 10 people through. I've had showings. However, no offers as of yet.
Okay, so that's a live one. That's Prospect Avenue in East Meadow, 3-bedroom, 1-bath ranch, and listed at $549. Just come and make an offer. We'll work with it. Okay, Angel, who's not on the call today, brought out 16 Vernon Lane in Center Reach. And I know that it probably has an accepted offer by now. She had 3 offers over asking, and just working on the details of who's going to be better with the appraisal issue, because obviously that will be an issue. But if you have any questions about Vernon Lane and Center Reach, you can speak to Angel. One that's a little bit confusing. Mike Kenduck put out 155 West 19th Street in Huntington Station. That's a 4-bedroom, 2-bath cape for $449. It's one of the rare REOs that we've gotten that's not occupied. It is vacant. And then they put it on the market, and a day later they had to do some work in it, and now it's temporarily off the market. I expect it to come back next week. And at $449, I expect, you have to think about starting there with your offers, not anything lower than that, even though it's an REO. I think it has been fixed up a little bit. Take a look at the pictures and watch for the update when it comes back on the market. But that will be coming back soon. It's not a legal thing that's holding it up. It's just, some extra work they wanted to do to finish it off. Okay, so it is the first meeting of the month, and that means we do market stats and what's going on with the market. And do we think the market is changing? Anybody want to put anything in the chat in terms of your comment? What do you think is going on with this market? Are we getting any movement, any direction, anything that we can say, oh, there's something new here? I'm going to give you a minute to put something in the chat. Yes, no, maybe. I think one of the things that's pretty clear is that the rabid buyer attention that we had in April and May and June, it has calmed down. And I think the other thing that's clear is some buyers have backed off, either because they're getting priced out of what they're looking for, or they're frustrated after the 5th house they made an offer on and didn't get. So I think they're sitting there in the wings. I think there is enough buyer fatigue. That's a good word. And the numbers are a little bit different, a little interesting. We talked last month about the fact that usually by July, the market inventory peaks. And the fact is that it didn't peak last month. It crept up just so slowly on August 1st. It was still higher than it was on July 1st. I don't know how much longer that can last. I would say this probably is the peak of inventory. And, this situation is always different. Everything is hyper local. So let me give you some examples. The inventory, the number of houses available in Nassau County is 3,890. And last month it was 3,801. So very close to the same, but not going down. And the absorption rate kicked up just a little bit to 2.7 months. Still very aggressive for sellers. Just to compare it, on August 1st, 2019, there were 6,269 houses available. Now they're 3,890. The absorption rate on August 1st, 2019 was 4.8. And this year in Nassau County, the absorption rate is averaging a pretty steady 2.6 months of inventory. In 2019, it was 4.8. Okay, different towns. So Bethpage, which is a very small market, the inventory did go down a little bit and the absorption rate a little bit. Syosset is one of the towns where things went up in terms of inventory. And I think one of the things you end up seeing is that when the higher end locations start to build inventory, that sort of tells you that something is going on with the inventory, and it sort of filters down to the lower priced areas after that. We'll see if that holds true, but last month, Syosset had 60 listings, and this month, 72. Let's put it in perspective. In 2019, it was 152. So we have half the inventory we had in 2019, but it has gone up, and our absorption rate has ballooned up to 3.1 when our average for the year is only 2.0. So Hicksville has been pretty steady. Levittown is very steady. Wantor ticked up a bit. Belmore ticked up a bit. Farmingdale, flat level. Massapequa, flat level. Elmont, flat level. East Meadow, very interesting. That's surprising to me. Last month, 54 pieces of inventory. And this month, 82 pieces of inventory available on August 1st in East Meadow. Last year, 2019, 102 pieces of inventory. But that's the town that we have the most inventory compared to 2019. And we have a 2.5 months worth of inventory versus 1.5 months. That's the average for the month. So we'll see how that goes. One of the things with these figures is, well, when did the listings come out? If they came out at the end of the month and weren't sold yet, well, that artificially inflates the absorption rate. But if they were on all month and still didn't sell, that will show something else. August tends to be a little slow anyway, with vacations and getting ready for back to school. So we'll see when we get to next month if we have a trend or we just have a blip in the data. Last but not least, Suffolk County is relatively flat, a little bit bump up. 3,692 pieces of inventory versus 30,566 last month, but versus 5,068 in 2019. So the absorption rate is at 2.1, and all these things are definitely still a seller's market. The story has not changed, but it could be changing a little. Now, we don't expect a gigantic drop either in demand or inventory levels, but we'll see. We'll see. We take it a month at a time. We take it a market at a time, and you keep looking at your markets and see where you are. and then adjust what you say to your buyer clients or your listing clients in terms of keeping them up to speed. I think one thing on the listing side, I would start thinking about telling my new prospects that things probably are not as strong as they were in the spring and probably will not be for the rest of the year. Not that it isn't a good time to sell, because our absorption rates are still, in unbelievably low levels. It's just if their neighbor's house was put on the market in May and sold in 2 days for $50,000 over asking, they might not be looking at selling at 2 days or $50,000 over asking, depending on their price range, location, absorption rate, days on the market, all those good things. Any questions about that? Okay. Okay, a couple of announcements. Want to explain the E&O situation, which is a little bit different from what we had in the past. So the first thing is we used to charge an E&O and a technology fee. We dropped the technology fee, and it's just an E&O fee of $495 a year. It was payable on July 1st, and we've always let agents slide if they're active in the market, and probably will have an under contract so that when that under contract closes, the E&O can be taken from that. But we've also in the past let it slide way too long, and people go through a whole year, don't have anything, don't pay their E&O, and then the company sort of eats it. And the fact is that in the future just raises everybody else's contribution level. So we decided that it has to be fair. Again, you've gotten a bill for it. You can pay it. If you have something in contract, you definitely can wait till that closes, and it will be automatically taken out of that. But if you don't have something in contract and you're not working on anything, we're looking at September 1st as sort of a deadline. When we get to the end of September and you need to renew your LIBOR dues, we will be asking you not to renew your LIBOR dues if you have not paid your E&O. So that's the absolute deadline. If you have any questions about how that's changed or how it affects you personally, please let me know. I'd be happy to go over it with your personal situation. But by October 1st, everybody will have paid their E&O one way or the other, either out of their closing or a check. And now we have the opportunity for you to pay with a credit card. So if you need to do that, let me know. They are working on a more elegant solution that you will be able to order things like your car just listed cards and your VHT photographs and whatever with an online portal that you'll be able to put your credit cards in. That is still in the works, but in the meantime, we can take your credit card for E&O if that's what you prefer. Hopefully by the end of the year, we'll have the portal up and it'll make things a lot easier, because it gets really messy doing these accounts where everything ends up on your account, and then you get a check from a closing and it's like $3,000 less than you thought it was going to be because you didn't pay E&O, and you got photographs and you got this and you got postcards and whatever. So I think it'll be easier for everybody, and certainly our back office now with double the number of agents. We have to look at these things, and that's the way we're going to do it.
John?
Yes, go ahead.
I'm sorry. I know you sent me the invoice for the E&O. I don't know what I did with it, and I didn't know I had to pay it. I also have the invoice for the photos. So if you can send me the invoice for the E&O and where I mail the check, I'll send both payments at one time.
Okay, you can do that, but you also do have a closing coming up And if you wanted to wait for that closing, we could just take it out of there. Either way, let me know. Just email me or text me to remind me if you want those things. If you don't want us to take it out of that check, that's fine.
Yeah, I have the cash, so I'll just put you a check.
Okay, we always like the cash. No problem.
Thank you.
It's all good. Just send me a
John.
text or an email.
Okay.
John,
Yes.
okay, I received the email, but I thought it was a mistake because I don't remember me paying it. I thought it was part of the commission or the fee that we pay to the company.
It could have been.
So
It could have been. We'll have to check on yours. This is the point. You know, sometimes if you've had a closing since July 1st, they probably did take it out. That you get a statement. I know that statement is not perfectly recognizable, but do not pay again. Let me question and see. I might be able to go into a software to look at your account and see if it was subtracted from one of your closings. If not, I can always email Lindsay and make sure that it's there. But you do have other closings coming up, so either way, we'll get it done.
okay.
Okay? Excellent. So we've gotten good response on the picnic. It's next Wednesday at Bethpage. Thank God it looks like the weather is holding up. And we will start at noon. We'll be doing, you know, the heavy duty cooking between noon and 2, barbecue and side dishes. And after that, we'll have some games, some bocce, some ring toss, whatever. Or you can just hang out and have a beer and enjoy the cool sunshine of, we have a nice pavilion there that's going to be very shady, and hopefully we will have a great time. You will be receiving today a survey of your eating and drinking preferences. We have almost 50 people coming, and we need to know, you know, we don't want to run out of hamburgers, so we don't want to have, you know, 42 hamburgers because nobody wants to eat them, that kind of thing. So we're trying to be good with our shopping, and I appreciate it if by tomorrow you can respond to that, because we will be doing shopping over the weekend to prepare for Wednesday. So
John, I just wanted to add that did go out. It went out as an email from Syosset office. I didn't use the survey thing. They're just going to track it. Yeah, so if you could let us know by like midday tomorrow, that would be great. And I had to step out for a minute, but it'll be fun. It's beautiful, shady, nice. If you want to sit, we've got all sorts of sports things. If you don't want to sit, it'll be fun.
Thanks, Leslie. Thanks for all your help with that.
No problem. Thank you.
Okay, excellent, good. Okay, so the other thing, the other thing is, let me explain your ethics requirement, because there seems to be a lot of confusion about it. The ethics requirement, even though there is an ethics requirement in your license renewal, that is different timing from the ethics requirement that NAR has every 2 years. So even before ethics was required on your renewal, NAR required everybody to take an ethics course every 2 years. And the deadline is December 31st. And it is a hard deadline. And if you don't meet it on January 1st, you will be suspended from Stratus privileges. So you can go on Stratus to see if you're on the list. I got a recent list last week. I would say half the people in the office have still not done that. So I wouldn't wait till the last minute. It's not really fun wrapping Christmas gifts and having to do an ethics course while you're doing that. So in preparation for that, I decided that it would be a good meeting to review the 17 articles of the Code of Ethics, which are always important, but even more important in the climate that we're in. So some of them, I have a take on some of them that I think you'll find interesting. So there are 17 articles. 9 of them relate to how you treat your clients. 5 of them are how you treat the public. And 3 of them are how you treat other realtors. So let's take the clients first. Number 1, protect and promote your clients' interests while being fair to all. We get confused sometimes. There's a lot of MLS rules. There's a lot of things that we have to follow in terms of fair housing. And unless our client is asking us to do something illegal, we must obey our client, their wishes, even if we don't agree with them. It's very important. We advise our clients, and then we obey our clients after they've listened to our advice. Obviously, we're salespeople. We should be able to talk people into certain things that are good for them, but the human condition is some people just like to pick the other thing. It is wrong for us to not obey our clients, and we try as best we can to protect and promote. Okay, number 2, avoid misrepresentation of facts. And I think the number 1 way this happens is we either are representing a seller or we're representing a buyer, and we get a question from a buyer or another agent, and we don't know the answer, and we make one up. Yes. It is okay to say, I don't know, I'll find out for you. It is very important that before we reveal anything that is not a material nature about the house, we get our client's permission. So there's a fine line there. Number 1, if we know something that's a material defect in the property, we must reveal it. Okay, no matter what our client says. And if our client's going to give us a hard time about it, they shouldn't probably be our client. It is illegal for us to withhold that information. On the other hand, it is illegal for us to reveal confidential information. So we get into the details here, and the details are, you can't even tell a status of a property without your client's permission. This sort of clashes with MLS rules, and that's why we have to be very proactive with this when we speak to our clients. We have to know how they want to give out statuses, and that should be part of your negotiation strategy. How they want to deal with multiple offers before the multiple offers happen, and how they want to deal with appraisal issues. All these are current issues now that have to do with revealing information. So we cannot have loose lips and tell another agent, oh yeah, we had an appraisal before and it was this, without our client's permission. You know, sometimes we want to be a show off because we know everything. And the things we know that we have to protect for our client, it is very important that we do that. If you have any questions about these as we go along, please do put them in the chat. I'll keep the chat up so we can see it. And we'll go to number 3. Cooperate with other real estate professionals to advance your client's interests. So it's interesting, you know, MLS is all about cooperation. But the fact is, main reason we cooperate is to move our client's interests forward. Now, we all know that our agents take the listing or they take the buyer contract, and who they're representing is themselves, not their client, their self-interest. It is very important that we understand that we need to cooperate to promote our client's interest, not our own. And sometimes it's hard to put our client's interests in front of that check we expect to get. But in the long run, if you don't do it this way, you will not win. I'm a big believer in karma, and it does come around either to enrich your life or to diminish your life. Your choice. Okay, number 4 is reveal your ownership interest in a transaction. So whether you own a property partially that you're selling, or you're part of a buyer pool that's buying a property, or you're going to get some benefit after the property sold, that is all have to be revealed. Okay. And this is a sort of a take on that. Number 5, realtors should not undertake to provide professional services containing the property or its value where they have a present or contemplated interest unless such interest is specifically disclosed. So it's the big word, conflict of interest. The interesting thing about this particular article is it doesn't only say the transaction, it says the value. So if somebody's asking you for a CMA and you point the CMA to lead that person in a way that's going to better your interest, that is not so good. You know, I mean, the classic example of this is the agent who will take the house who's worth $750 and say it's worth $900, so they get the listing. That is completely unethical. Okay, number 6, avoid side deals without your client's consent. So that's very important. We have an agent who has a buyer contract, and the buyer contract says, I'm going to get 2% from the seller, and I'm going to get another 0.5% from the buyer. That's completely legal, except that it needs to be disclosed to all parties. So disclosure is the way we stay out of trouble. And certainly when it comes to money, disclosure is important. Along with that, number 7 is accept compensation from only one party, except when disclosed to all. And that also follows that example I gave you where the agent is coming back with 2% check from the seller and then a 0.5% check from the buyer. Number 8 is not applicable to us. Keep client funds separate. We don't run escrow on our particular transactions. Other agents in New York do, but the Long Island brokers have decided that that's not a good thing. They don't want the liability of us handling other people's money. And that's basically why we have lawyers involved in our transactions on Long Island. Okay, number 9. This is my dot loop favorite. All details of a transaction must be in writing, and a copy of each signed document to the client. Paperwork is an ethical obligation. Now, we make it as easy as possible as we can with dot loop, and there really shouldn't be anybody who has a problem with having their paperwork in order. But we do have a transaction manager now that will sort of enforce that, and it's all good. Okay, to the public, equal service to all, no discrimination, no ifs, ands, and buts, everybody treated equally. And that's why I recommend that you basically treat people with a sort of a template. You say the same thing to every buyer. You have the same way to move somebody through a transaction. If you do that and you stick to that, you're not likely to be in trouble with discrimination. Okay, number 11 is a very interesting one to me. Be knowledgeable in your field of practice. Okay, so here's two things. Number one, you get a lead to sell a warehouse in Hop Hop. Should you be taking that lead yourself? Well, the question is, what commercial background training do you have? What experience do you have with warehouses? If you do not, it is unethical for you to say, yes, I might as well do it. It's there. We do have a commercial department that will cover you, and basically you can work together with them or give them a referral. The other thing is a little bit trickier. Somebody has a co-op in Manhattan. Now, you've sold co-ops before, but you don't know Manhattan from the Bronx. Well, that can be a problem. And how can you serve your client properly if you don't have that experience? We have a relocation director who can relocate within the company or outside the company, do the right thing, and not just take every lead wherever it is. I've seen agents, they take listings in Putnam County. I don't know how you can actually support your client unless you have a house up there and go up there regularly. But most of us would not be able to do that. Okay, number 12 is communicate honestly. Give a true picture in your advertising. So we want to serve our client. We want to promote them. We want the house to have the best description. But if the house needs work, it's not really ethical to say that it's in moving condition. Okay. Number 13, do not engage in the unauthorized practice of law. Simplest one example is a lease. Now, we have a lease available on our intranet, and you can give it to a seller. If you make one mark on it before you do that, you're changing a contract, and that means that you're actually in the unauthorized practice of law. So don't do it, and keep one hat on. Even if you are a lawyer, keep one hat on. You are a real estate consultant, salesperson. That's what you should do. No matter how much you know about a house, you shouldn't be the home inspector. You know, no matter how much you know about the law, you shouldn't be the lawyer. Very important to keep the one hat on. Number 14 is a little bit hard. Be a willing participant in code enforcement. So on the least level, it means if you have testimony about someone's actions that are unethical and you're called to cooperate with the board, you are ethically obligated to tell what you know. On the other side of it, even more aggressively, if you're in transaction with an agent and you know they're being unethical and you have proof of that, you really have an obligation to make an ethics complaint. You know, and it's a little pet peeve of mine that we know that there are agents who have been in this business 10 or 15 years who have acted unethically over time, and they keep doing it because nobody calls them to task. On your side, obviously, you don't want to be the object of the code enforcement. And if you follow these 17 articles, you will not. Okay. In terms of your obligation to other realtors, be truthful in your comments on other realtors. So you go into a listing presentation that was an expired, and the owner says, you know, that agent, you know, wasn't so good. You know, and a lot of times it wasn't the agent, it was the owner that was not cooperating either on price or showings or whatever. The fact is, I like to use my mother's dictum. If you have nothing good to say, don't say anything at all. Now, there are some agents that you could say some truthful things that are not so nice. I think it's best not to say that. And I wonder why you didn't make an ethics complaint first rather than talking to your potential client about that agent. In any case, we need to be respectful. Okay, we need to respect exclusive representation. Clear cooperation policy has really put things on a very clear level now. Basically, we know when somebody is representing somebody, and we cannot get in the way of somebody else, whether it's on the listing side or the buyer side. A buyer called you and says, I want you to help me. And you, as you're questioning them, they say, oh yeah, I made an offer with this other agent, but they didn't do a good job. I want you to go in and make another offer. That is not ethical. That buyer has to finish that transaction, good or bad, with that agent. If they want something else and you want to start a new transaction with them and they do not have a buyer contract, that's fine. But make sure you ask them for the paperwork they might have signed with that agent, because if they have a buyer contract, just like if they have a listing contract, that is not good. Okay, number 17 is arbitrate and mediate disputes with other realtors. It is unethical for us to take another realtor to court. Our court is our board. And whether you have an ethics complaint or you have an arbitration about money, it has to go there. Very important. Okay, so I know that this wasn't the most scintillating topic for you, but I think it is very important for us to take our ethical responsibility seriously. And for those of you who have not already done your ethics training, please don't let me have to send you an email on December 26th. You're going to be turned off on January 1st. It's really not that big a deal. You can take a course that's free, that fulfills the ethical obligations, or you can take a course where you pay a small amount, I think it's $30, to get free credits in ethics. Since now we have to have the credits in ethics to renew our license, I think it makes a lot of sense to take the course that you pay for. But in any case, LIBOR is watching, and we need to be able to do it, because if we don't, we're going to suffer the consequences. Luckily, nobody else will. Okay, are there any questions before we close for the day? Okay, so I hope to see all of you who signed up for the picnic on Wednesday. I'm looking forward to it. And then we will have our next meeting in 2 weeks. In the real doldrums of August, I'm going to have to come up with a real good topic for the next meeting to keep everybody awake. I promise it won't be fair housing or ethics. So have a great day.
Okay. You
Thanks,
too.
John.
Bye, everybody.
Hi, everybody. Be well.
I thought this
Hey,
meeting was
John.
riveting, John. It was great.
Okay, thank you.
I got a
Take care.
question for you, buddy.
Sure.
Hold on one sec. I gotta, what's going on right now? Because I'm confused about the whole moratorium. Where are we at with that?
You mean on making calls?
Making calls, the eviction process.
Oh, the eviction process. So the eviction process is very cloudy. The good news is it's cloudy on the federal level. On the state level, it's very clear. The state mandate is until the end of August. The federal moratorium supposedly was expired on July 31st, but CDC issued another order that it was supposed to be going till October. The only problem is there was a court case and the Supreme Court said there has to be legislation. It cannot be the executive branch that does this. So stay tuned for the next court case, which should happen this month. But at this point, nobody's getting evicted. And probably not till October at least. So unfortunately, if you're a landlord and you're trying to get somebody out, hunker down till next January. Not likely to get anybody out before then, even if they don't pass legislation. It's just such a muddle. There's such a backlog. There's so many cases in landlord-tenant court. It will go on and on and on. So unfortunately, it's not good news for landlords. You know, all these moratoriums are really about renters. They're not about the REOs. And I have not heard word from Fannie or Freddie about, you know, what's going on with that. They are the #1 source of whether the evictions go forward or not on people who haven't paid their mortgages. I believe all the current moratoriums are on people who did not pay their rent. So I'm not 100% positive, but I am 99% sure that that's the way it is. But I believe that on the federal level, Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac have not started doing evictions. You know anything about that, Quentin?
I do not.
Okay. So I'm not going to ask you about interest rates because they're ridiculous.
Was that a subtle way of
lower than
asking me about
last
interest
meeting.
rates? Yeah, I'm locking folks 2.625, 2.75. Tomorrow, we're going to have the jobs report, however, and that could make things volatile. The experts are expecting us to miss. If we miss, then the bond rally that we're seeing may continue and rates might even get a little bit better. But if we hit it, then we'll see something. But I did want to share this one statistic I heard this week.
Sure.
Is we were talking about the fact that there are less mortgage applications for purchase, but last year, 16% of buyers were cash buyers. Guess what that percentage is? Guess what that percentage is this year, cash buyers? Anybody?
25.
Anybody? Very good, Dan. 24. If there were a prize, John would give it to you because I don't do that. But
Absolutely.
but that's really good. So, but that's a 50% increase in cash buyers. So sometimes we're looking at mortgage apps and go, oh, look, you know, purchase apps are down. If you've got 50% more cash buyers, they're skewing those numbers.
Was that national?
That's national, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a big number.
So question for you is, so I have a deal going into contract. It's a existing Section 8 house. And the buyer may ask for the tenant to leave. If the tenant wants to say, no, I'm not leaving, can they could just sit there and squat, basically? Is there any recourse for that whatsoever?
No recourse. Get your buyer to understand that they're probably not going to be able to get them out till after the holidays.
Even if they're a Section 8 tenant?
I don't think it matters where the money's coming from. Source of income has nothing to do with evictions. But why isn't Section 8 paying the rent?
Well, they're obviously paying a portion of the rent, but what the deal is my buyer wants to vet, and rightfully so in my opinion, and correct me, my buyer wants to vet the current tenant to make sure that, they're not have, a long arrest history or whatever, something bad, in a very bad situation that would make for a bad tenant. So if it doesn't pass his so-called proper vetting process that he's going to pay a company to do, then he would want them to leave if it's not a good tenant, so to speak.
Yeah, he's not going to be able to do that. He might want to save his money on vetting until he can evict them, and just hope that he's getting most of the rent from Section 8. Make sure Section 8 knows there's a new owner.
Okay. Good to know.
Yeah, Elisa just asked a question, and I think I know the answer, but since you talked about cash buyers, Quentin, she said, how many of the cash buyers are international buyers?
If you're asking me, I have zero clue.
Yeah, my guess is much lower than before. There is no money coming out of China. It's as simple as that.
John, I just read that China spent the most money on real estate out of any other group, but they were 6% down, I think.
Yeah.
It was one of the articles.
But I think all the international sales are down just because of COVID restrictions. So I think we'll see that to be continuing for a little while longer. There's a lot of cash on Long Island.
No, I'm sorry.
Around.
I think I worded it wrong. Of the cash buyers here, how many are international buyers?
Yeah.
Not overseas. I mean, here, we don't know that number.
That's a tough number to find.
Yeah. No, we do not know, but anecdotally, I would say that if you're talking about people who are not U.S. citizens, I would say the number is pretty low.
Okay.
Generally, there's a little bit less information on the cash buyers. Because it's just cash. There's no mortgage application. You don't find out all this other data. So it's always harder to find out who they are.
Right. Okay. I'm going to end the meeting again unless somebody has another question. Okay. Everybody have a great day and a great weekend. If you need me, email me.